there is a new driver. And there's only one person that should get their hands on it first.
I genuinely didn't realise I was going to be in front of the camera, so I dressed a bit more appropriately.
Yeah, you might have.
I'm a little bit casual for this
you
little...
look very casual. You've enjoyed being in a tracksuit on here, haven't you? What have you got in your hands there, Bernie?
So we have your current TSi3 driver.
Yes, that one there, yeah.
And we have the new TSi4 driver.
Okay, and what am I'm going to test it today. I'm going to hit some balls with it, get some numbers. I'm going to put it up against my TSi3. But what are you expecting to see difference-wise from these two drivers? Okay,
just without boring you too much with the tech.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to do now.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, we always like a bit of tech.
So the TSi4 is basically a low spinning, meant to be low launching driver for maximum distance. You'll notice on your original driver that you're using, or your current driver, we've got the tracking at the back, so you've got a lot of the centre of gravity pushed away from the face towards the back, where we can then alter and adjust accordingly. Whereas the TSi4 hasn't got the sure fit system at the back. We have a weight which is positioned further closer to the face, which will basically lower the centre of gravity, increase your distance and lower your spin rate.
Okay, so pushing the CG closer to the face, giving us sort of lower spin bombers, basically. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Okay, let's hit some balls, let's get some numbers and see what it's up to. So we're going to get 10 shots with my driver. Now, just to give you an idea, TSi3 driver, like Lester talked about before, we've got lots of technology that have gone into this new driver. If you want to see the review of this actual driver, there'll be a link just up in the corner here for you. Now, I've got this driver set up as 9 degrees and a B2 setting, so I've just tilted the club just slightly upright a fraction, which in turn is just going to give me a little bit more of faceplane tilt to keep it turning over from right to left. I tend to leak a few of my drives to the right on occasions, especially when I get tired, so this is going to try and help that keep turning over for me. I've got the Hazardous Smoke 6.0 60-gram shaft, which is set at the standard length, and we're going to use the same shaft in the head of the TSi4 in the same spec as what we've got with this one. So both in 9 degrees, both at B2 settings, and give you some numbers on them. So moving into the TSi4 driver now, we've just hit some shots with the TSi3. As Lester said before, the TSi4 is the driver in the family of TSi within Titleist where the CG is going to be pushed closer to the face, as close to the face as we're going to get it basically. And the idea of that is that they're trying to hit a lower launch and a lower spin. So they're trying to give you maximum distance, reducing that spin. This is for kind of players that desire lower spin, who really hit at it quite hard, and this is where this driver kind of sits in that. So very much designed around the tall player or the better player, or someone that just hits the ball a long way. So first impressions looking down at the driver is how much smaller it is when I look down at it. Now, you've got to remember the TSi3 driver is a 460cc, so it's kind of maxed out in its profile of its look. Whereas this one is a 430cc, so it's going to look that little bit smaller when you look down at it. And for my eye personally, I think I prefer the look of the TSi3 compared to the TSi4, purely because I prefer the bigger look when I look down at it, which then gives me the confidence to hit the driver the way I want to hit it. So one of the big things that I've just noticed off the first shot off this club is the off-centered strike. Like, I felt that it wasn't quite out the middle, it was more towards the heel for me. Personally, I like to get it a little bit higher and a little bit into the toe. But the slightly off-centered strike is where it's really going to start to hurt me a little bit. I can feel it. I can feel the club wanting to twist on me. And that's the thing with this driver, is that you know, you need to be on your game. If you're somebody who scatters it across the face, it's like hitting, almost like the feeling of hitting a blade. If you hit a bladed iron, you're going to really feel that. Well, this driver is, the easiest way to explain it is it's very similar to that. This driver, off-centered strikes, you're going to start to feel the twisting in the head because the CG is pushed closer to the face. So ultimately the MOI is very much down on this. If you pull the CG further away from the face, which is what majority of us golfers need, it increases the MOI. So if you get off-centered strikes, the face and the stability of the club will maintain itself for you, making it a lot more consistent with those off-centered strikes. So one thing that you've kind of picked up on, and certainly when you've looked at it, not that you've hit this, but it's not giving you a great deal of confidence, is it? But what have you spotted there?
No, I mean the general area of the face and the size of it is considerably smaller on the TSi4
compared to the TSi3.
Yeah, but you'll also notice as well, I don't know if you can pick this up on camera,
probably not from here,
but on the toe area, it's almost like the face stops. It doesn't go right up to the line, whereas on the TSi3 it's almost to the very end or the very perimeter of the club face, so you're almost missing some face on the toe. It just looks small from this position.
It's just, at the end of the day, it's definitely a smaller hitting area, isn't it?
Just, I mean, I know that there's only 20 to 30 cc's in difference in the actual overall size, but for me, that face, the percentage of the face compared to the old one, you've got to be sort of 20-25% less hitting area.
Yeah.
Which is going to make it, for me, that's going to make it difficult to hit for the average player.
Like I said to you before, it's like a blade. Well, majority of blades that we see on the market are a little bit smaller in profile, aren't they? Well, this one is no different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're hitting the centre of the club, like you've just said, you're going to see significant distance increases. But if you're hitting it, if you're scattering the face, then there's going to be massive drop-offs.
Well, I felt that with my first shot. It felt like it twisted on me.
Which is what you'd see when you're hitting a blade. If you don't hit the middle, you get massive drop.
Which one gives you more confidence? If you're picking them up?
The TSi3, for me personally, I don't think I'm good enough or accurate enough off the tee, driving-wise, to actually be able to hit that. It's not to say that
almost
someone...
like doubting yourself from the get-go.
I mean, it's not to say that people will see significant increases and will hit this better possibly than the other range in the family, but for me, I'd be a little bit, as I'm not a great driver with the ball, as we know, I would be a little bit concerned of a couple of things on this driver.
Yeah, much better. So two things that I want to mention about this TSi4 driver is when it comes to the face of the driver, we're seeing this ATI titanium aerospace technology that's gone into the face of it. It's something that they've used in the TSi2, TSi3, and I believe in the TSi1 also. So we're getting the same face technology, giving us maximum ball speed. You know, these companies are trying their hardest to give us maximum ball speed with the overall shape and size that we've actually got with the driver. Then we've got the aerodynamics of the driver. And again, what they've tried to do with this particular model, and this goes down to what they've sort of got from their players on tour, is they're talking about the sound. So how does the sound performance work for the players? What do they want to hear? Do they want to hear a more tinnier sound or a duller sound? For this one, I'm feeling or sounding it's similar to what I'm getting out of my TSi3, which is very much a duller sound than the previous model. So whereas in the previous model we were getting more of a tinnier sound, in this one now we're getting more of a duller, thuddier sound off the face, which I personally like to hear. The other thing is that the drag on the driver. So they've improved the drag on it by 6%. So they're trying to give us as maximum speed as we possibly can as we come through our shots. And by reducing the drag in their new design of the aerodynamics, that's enabling us to give us maximum speed. Just going to give you the numbers now over on the screen as to what these two drivers are giving us. If we start off with the TSi3 to get us going, this is my driver. 153 ball speed off the face, launching it at 14 degrees, spinning it at 2,200, so closer to 2,300, which is kind of exactly where I want it to be. We are getting 37 yards high on an average from the peaking out, and then 266 on the carry. I've got to say, coming out of this lockdown, my numbers have been very, very good when it comes to the actual carry. So something's happening quite nicely for me in my lockdown. So if we compare those numbers to what we're getting out of the TSi4, 153.8 ball speed off the face. If you compare it to 153.2, so 0.6 difference, slightly quicker off the face. Launching it at 14.2 compared to 14.3, so pretty much the same. But here's where the difference is going to be. 1837 revs I'm getting out of this backspin from this driver compared to 2.2 what I'm getting out of my own. So this is me living life on a knife edge. I have tried hitting low spin drivers over the years and I get a massive dispersion when I get out into the golf course. I really struggle to be able to manage the golf ball quite as well when I've got that low spin, even though the potential is that I can get maybe some more yardage out of it. My peaking out at 33 yards high compared to 37, so peaking out a little bit lower, probably the spin having something to do with that. And then carry-wise 269, so I'm gaining 3 extra yards out of that driver. We could say that it's to do with the spin, but actually if you come and now look at what I'm getting out of the club data, we are, if we compare the two of these drivers, let's get that into position. I'm swinging it at 109 mile an hour with the TSi4 compared to 108 mile an hour. So I'm getting 1 mile an hour quicker in my speed, which should equate to a fraction more ball speed, which we're seeing, but it also should equate to then giving me maybe a fraction more yardage, which again we're seeing. So the combination of swinging it a little bit harder, the combination of a bit lower spin is getting my golf ball out there a little bit further. Okay, so we've got some good numbers there with this driver. A little bit inconsistent in my control, so missing everything maybe a little bit left, and that I think is down to a little bit of that lack of control with the spin. But I want to see what we can get out of this driver. I want to max it out, so I'm going to knock the loft down on it. You remember there I was launching it around 14. If I can bring that loft down, obviously we're going to lose spin possibly a little bit more. By moving the loft down, we might move the strike just a little bit higher, bringing the spin down. But it might just give me those few extra yards to max this driver out for me. TSi4 fitted now, and first things first is ball speed off the club face, 153.9. If you compare that to what I'm getting out of the non-fitted, so in the B2 setting, slightly higher lofted, we're getting 153.8, so nothing in it from the ball speed that we're getting. Launch-wise, interestingly again, I'm knocking the loft down, but the launch on an average is gone up. So I've gone from 14.2 in the standard spec, should we say, compared to 15. So I've knocked the loft off, but my launch has gone a bit higher. Now, spin. This is what I expected to start to see, the reduction of spin. We've got 1700 revs out of the spin in the fitted version compared to 1837 revs. So I've lost a further 135 revs off this new fitted driver. If we look at peak heights, 34 yards high compared to 33, so pretty much the same. But that little bit lower spin is giving me a fraction more yardage. I've gone from 269 on an average carry to now 275. So there is an opportunity there for me to reduce the loft, get the spin down a little bit, increasing my yardage. But like I said before, I'm living life on a knife edge with those sorts of spin numbers, and it's not overly where I want to go. If I compare it now to the actual club data, and like I said before, as you take loft off a club, you might see the strike location go fractionally higher in the face as you're pushing that face kind of further forward. And it has happened, but not a massive amount. I've gone from an average of 4 millimeters in the toe and 2 millimeters high to now 5 millimeters in the toe and 3 millimeters high. So it has gone fractionally higher, but not a massive amount that's going to give us any massive difference in numbers. Well, you've seen me hit a number of shots with these clubs now. Yep. Which one would you recommend for me to use?
Well, I would personally, if I was fitting you, keep you in the TSi3. For the level of competition and the type of golf courses you play on, you play mainly on club courses which aren't particularly long. Yeah. They're more suited for accuracy rather than distance. I would say stick with what you've got. If you were looking to play West Region or even minor tours where distance is more of an advantage, I would say if you worked at the TSi4, got your strike location slightly better, you would definitely see significant distance increases which would help you compete at a slightly higher level.
So I have to completely agree with what Lester is saying there. For the type of golf courses that I play on right now and the type of golf that I play, the TSi3 works really, really well for me. It just gives me that little bit of confidence that I've got that little bit more spin to be able to maybe control that golf ball. Yes, I'm going to lose a couple of extra yards, possibly over the TSi4, but with that extra control, it gives me confidence to stand on that tee and hit that shot the way I want to hit it. However, if you take me back to when I was probably in my late teens and early 20s, when I was competing and playing amateur golf at college level and county level, I probably would have opted to go into the TSi4, and the reason for that is because I was practicing a lot more. I was hitting lots of balls, and therefore my consistency of strike was massively, massively improved to where it was right now, let's say. So with that in mind, if I was striking this driver, the TSi4, a little bit more consistent off the face, in the right spot all the time, I think it would give me the confidence to actually put it in the bag and play with it. I think for majority of golfers out there, people will shy away from this driver. But if you're somebody that is looking for something with a slightly smaller profile, somebody that wants to give it a little bit lower in the spin, then definitely give this driver a go. Don't get me wrong, it's a bit of an animal. It will catch you out. If you mishit it, you will feel it, but ultimately it's going to give you the optimum that you're going to get from a driver. So it's worth putting it in for a test. Let me know, put your comments down below. What do you think of the TSi4 driver? Is it something that you would be interested in having a little look at yourself and even having a test and putting it in the golf bag? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Don't forget, if you are new to the channel and you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon.